Hello, I'm Ken Davis, Chairman of Lower Merion's Cable Television Advisory Committee and a former Township Commissioner. My guest today is Ken Lawrence, Vice Chairman of Montgomery County's Board of Commissioners. The county was created in 1784 and is the third most populous in Pennsylvania with approximately 825,000 residents. Ken, welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me, Ken.
Sure. Montgomery County is a very diverse county geographically, densely populated in the east where Lower Merion and Narberth are, and in the central part of the county, and less densely populated in the western part where there's still farmland and open space. And even in the far west part of the county, you touch in some Pennsylvania Dutch and Mennonite areas, so it's pretty far out there. So how do you manage to deal with a county that's as diverse as we are?
Well, as you mentioned, Montgomery County is the third most populous county after Philadelphia County and Allegheny County. We're larger than 4 states. We have a greater population than Alaska, Wyoming, Vermont, and North Dakota. And one of the great things about Montgomery County is our diversity. When you get out to the upper Perkiomen Valley, we have a ski lodge in Montgomery County, Spring Mountain out in Perkiomenville. So it's a lot of fun because you have your more urban areas like Norristown and Pottstown, but then you do have a lot of farmland and open space as well.
That's great. We have dozens of different municipalities here in the county with different types of government. Lower Merion, of course, is a township with commissioners, ward commissioners, whereas Narberth is a borough with council members who are elected at large. And so we get to the point where your functions in a county are much different than those at the local level. Local government provides police and fire, public works, and land development. So how would you describe the county's function versus local government functions?
So we have 62 municipalities in Montgomery County, 50 police departments. Some municipalities split their police departments. I view our role as to bring it all together. We cover health and human services for the county. We administer the county prison, the correctional facility. We appoint the board for the community college, the Montgomery County Community College, and our tourism board. But then Montgomery County also has 75 miles of roads, which we're responsible for, and 133 bridges. A lot of counties gave back their bridges in the early 1900s. For some reason, Montgomery County did not. Sometimes I wish we could. And also an important aspect of our county government, too, is the 911 call center. No matter where you are in Montgomery County, we administer the 911 calls from our public safety center.
Right. Now, in addition to your 3-member Board of Commissioners, the county also has 9 row officers, and like your board, they are all elected independently, yet they're funded under the unified county budget. So how do you manage their budgets and still respect their independence as elected officials?
Well, someone has to be responsible for the overall pot of funds. So we have a process where the row offices come in and present to our CFO and to staff, and we make those decisions. But they are independently elected officials. But ultimately, we are responsible for administering the budget and giving them the allotment for them to perform the services that they're elected to do.
You mentioned some of the county departments, and of course, they all report to your Board of Commissioners. Some of them deal with some very critical human needs. You mentioned corrections, child welfare, health and human services. These are things that local government does not provide. Can you talk about some of the more important county departments that local government wouldn't provide?
Our Office of Children and Youth, I mean, they're responsible for protecting our children from getting them out of dangerous situations in homes. We recently changed the Office of Adult and Aging Services. It's now the Office of Senior Services. So that's where our senior citizens can go for our parents. One of the great things for me about being a county commissioner is I'm often out at a community event or even the supermarket, and a citizen will come up and thank me for a service that a county employee has done. But we really deal with people sometimes at their most vulnerable moments, and our county employees do a great job.
there's a function of law enforcement and public safety. This is something that both the county does at one level and the municipalities have. All the municipalities have their own police forces, of course, some obviously larger than others. Yet in the county, you've got the district attorney's office and the sheriff's office, and both of those offices are elected independently. So from the standpoint of public safety, how do you work with those two offices in particular?
I think we work very well with both our district attorney's office and our sheriff's department. Our sheriff's department is responsible for protecting the courthouse and protecting county facilities in the courtrooms, and also transporting prisoners back and forth between the correctional facility and when they're going into court. Our district attorney, who's a Lower Merion resident, we work very closely with him. One of the example of the partnerships is, as you mentioned, we have 50 different police departments. The chair of our Board of Commissioners, Valor Cush, and Kevin Steele, our district attorney, work very closely that now all 50 police departments in Montgomery County carry naloxone. So in case of an overdose, all of our police departments carry that. That's something that was needed to be made at the individual level. That's not something that our county could mandate, but our district attorney, the Board of Commissioners work together, working with our police chiefs, working with our local elected officials. So now we're proud to say that every police department in Montgomery County carries naloxone.
Yeah. Sometimes people think that the district attorney reports to the Board of Commissioners, but of course...
He never thinks that. No.
Of course he doesn't, but I think people don't understand the structure of the government at the county level. You also have the county courts in Montgomery County, and they are also elected independently, although they are not political offices. These are judicial offices. But both the county and the state do share some responsibility for the operation of the court system. So how do you divide that up between the state and the county?
We have a president judge, Tom Del Ricci. We work very closely with him. The Court of Common Pleas elects a president judge. We have 24 judges on our Court of Common Pleas. And once again, it's a partnership. We administer the budget, but some of their funding does come from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But it's a back and forth to work to make sure that the courthouse remains open, that our citizens are safe.
The issue of open space, of course, is important to the county. It was important here in Lower Merion some years ago when a lot of the larger estates were getting divided up. But as Montgomery County grows, and you supervise parks, historic sites, trails, some 6,000 acres with 1.5 million visitors, how do you function on your open space and farmland preservation issues?
You mentioned earlier open space, particularly towards the western part of the county. I'm very proud that of the 30,000 farmland acres in Montgomery County, we are coming very close to preserving 1/3 of them. And we do that in partnership with the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth provides funds, the county provides funds, and then the local municipality would provide funds as well. One that is going to be preserved this year is Maple Acres Farm, which is the last remaining farm in Plymouth Township. Plymouth, which is where I live, is densely populated, but it has a farm about a mile from the Plymouth Meeting Mall, which is a great place to go to buy your vegetables. The sweet corn is the best. So I'm very proud that will be preserved in perpetuity.
Right. Development and zoning are local government issues. Every township, every borough has a zoning hearing board. They handle land development applications. Yet the county has a function there as well, especially it relates to economic development. So how do you balance off the interest of economic development with some more parochial local concerns about, let's say, overdevelopment or encroaching upon local government jurisdictions?
Right. We have a planning commission that works very closely with our local municipalities, and the county actually has a comprehensive plan, Monco 2040, which was adopted a few years ago, which provides some guiding principles for where economic development and activity should happen. So ultimately, as you said, it's the decision of the local municipality, but we provide a lot of consultation and advice and whatever information they need to try to make the best decisions, both for their local municipality but also for the county.
When you talk about the county's fiscal position, a lot of people who live in municipalities sometimes don't understand how the tax bill is divided. In Lower Merion, for example, when we get our tax bill, we see that the largest number goes to the school district. In Lower Merion, it's about 70% of our tax bill goes to the school district. About 15% comes to the township, and 15% comes to the county. So the local elected officials usually hear from citizens when local taxes are raised, but they don't protest as much when school taxes are raised. So when you look at the county budget, how do you keep your costs in check, and how do you keep your part of the tax bill low?
We have a very vigorous process where we start with zero-based, and the departments have to come in each year and present their best case for why they need the budget that they do. We all take very seriously the tax dollars. They're your dollars, they're my dollars, and we've been very proud with how we've managed our county budget over the past few years.
That's good. You mentioned the Montgomery County Community College. It's been around since 1964.
1964.
It's been very successful. The main campus in Bluebell. You've got another campus in Pottstown, and I understand you have a new culinary arts center in Lansdale. And the county offers about 100 or so associate degrees. But there again, the funding is divided between the county and I think the state and tuition, and maybe even citizens who pay their tax bill. Can you talk about how you decide how do you decide to apportion the share among the three or four?
So the formula for the community colleges is supposed to be the state 1/3, the county 1/3, and then tuition 1/3 as well. The county was not meeting that third for a while because it was part of the budget process. So what occurred in 2016 in the 2015 budget is there was actually a millage created for the community college. So what that does is it gives the community college a predictable revenue stream. So it's not each year the commissioners deciding the college will get this or get that. I'm proud to say that since that millage has been adopted, the community college hasn't had a tuition increase for the past 3 years. They've been able to better afford their budget, keep the costs down. I also started my college career at the community college too, so it's wonderful to see what's happened there. It's certainly one of the top community colleges in the Commonwealth.
So the county runs the college, or owns the college, I should say, but you've got a board that you appoint to kind of manage and oversee that. How does that work?
So we own the land where the college is, and then we appoint the board, and then the board runs the college. So the board will appoint the president. They're actually in a presidential search now. So there's 15 board members. They get a 5-year term, I believe it is, or 6-year term. But they serve at the will of the commissioners. So we work closely with them, but we have a great board right now that does a great job of running the college.
Let's talk about elections in Pennsylvania. Obviously, there's lots of concern about the way elections are run today. Years ago, people just sort of took it for granted, and now they don't. There's issues with voter registration, issues with voting access, those kinds of things. The county is adopting a new voting system, and I understand that there's a public meeting at the community college on October 5th for people to attend and learn more about it. So how can, and since this program will air prior to the election, how can we advise people about what they're going to find when they go to the polling place next time? Because in the previous election, in the primary, obviously it was the first time for the system that you rolled out then, but now there'll be a slightly different system. What can people expect from the new?
Well, the system will be the same that was used in the primary, but we know that probably, hopefully, turnout will be higher for a general election than the primary. And what we've gone to a paper ballot system. The governor mandated that all counties in Pennsylvania implement this before 2020. We were already in the process of picking a new system because our current machine, our old machines were over 20 years old. And there's probably not too much that you have in your house that's 20 years old, your television, your computer. So it's very simple. I think you'll get a pen, you'll get your ballot, you'll mark, and then you feed it into a scanner, and the scanner counts that. one of the hiccups that we had with the primary election is that the election judge is never to touch your ballot. And I think in the primary, as if the ballot was rejected or there was an undervote, sometimes the judges were handling the ballot, which people didn't like because they felt that
Right.
interfered with the confidentiality of their vote. So we're having mandated training for all of our election workers again. We're having another forum on October 5th, as you mentioned, from 10 to 12 at the community college, where people can literally come out. And if you didn't vote in the primary and you want to come out and try the new system, you can come out and try it again there. I think it's very important that we are implementing this year, because 2020 will probably be a very high turnout election.
Right.
So we'll be going through it where a lot of other counties will be going through it for the first time next year.
One of the issues I noticed at my polling place was that there didn't seem to be enough machines. The judges of election and the people who work at the table were somewhat familiar with the way it worked, but they tended to improvise as the day went on. But unless there are more machines, it may be difficult with a high turnout election to handle it. And then you've got people lined up out the door. And as you said, 2020 will be a much more difficult election from the standpoint of turnout.
It's certainly the plan that we will have more scanners for 2020. And even for this fall election, for some high turnout places, they have the ability to put more scanners there. I do want to note, though, too, usually the commissioners serve as the election board, but since we are on the ballot this year, we're not the election board. It's three corporate, so we're not making ultimately those decisions on these things, but staff will do that. But it was always the plan that in 2020 there will be more.
Weren't there some issues with regard to voter registration at the state level that affected you in the county?
I'm not familiar with that. One of the issues that I would like to see changed is our absentee ballot deadlines, which are actually set by our state election code, which hasn't been changed since 1936. They're very stringent. If it's not in by the Friday before, then it doesn't count. And I think there's better ways to do that. I'm pleased that the governor has allowed online applications now for the absentee ballot. You still will get the ballot in the mail, and you will still have to mail it back. But now you can actually do it online and get it sent out to you, where before you had to mail your application in, get the ballot back, and then mail it back.
Right. My wife and I will be away on election day, but we've already sent in our application for the absentee.
Did you do it on Monday?
Well, I already did.
Okay.
So you're telling me that I'm going to get my ballot in a timely fashion so that I can mail it in before I take off?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's good. Local government and county government really do invite public participation. Sometimes people don't think they get enough participation. They show up at meetings and say, I didn't hear about this, I didn't know about this. You've got a dozen or more different boards and commissions that are all made up of private citizens to help you and the county departments function better. How does public participation work at the county level? I know how it works in Lower Merion, for example. We have boards and commissions as well, not as many as you do. And at every meeting, there is a public a section of the meeting for public comment. Do you do much of the same thing at your meeting?
Yes, we have public comment at all of our meetings. We also live stream all of our meetings, so if you're unable, we meet at 10 o'clock on Thursdays in Norristown, but if you're unable to get there, you can watch the live stream of the meetings. We have town halls every year where we go to different locations in the county and have evening meetings to give a report, but also to hear the feedback from the citizens. And we are always looking for people to serve on our boards and commissions, so they're all on our website. So I would invite anyone who wanted to go to montcopa.org to check them out as well.
Yeah. The Southeast region has been important to the economy of Pennsylvania for sure. How do you work with the surrounding counties, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, of course, the city of Philadelphia as well?
So an example of that is when Amazon was looking for their second headquarters. And everybody wanted to put in their own application. But if you looked at what Amazon was looking for, you could tell they wanted to be in a city. They wanted to be in a city, and it was unlikely that they were going to pick a suburban county because that was part of their business model. So we work together as a region. All the county commissioners from the surrounding counties, and then Philadelphia as well, and even some counties in Delaware and New Jersey, all signed a letter to send to Amazon. So I was very proud of that. It showed the regionalism. Of course, we didn't get it, but it doesn't look like New York isn't going to end up with it either,
they got it and didn't want it.
and didn't want it. But yes, we do compete. But when it's something huge like that, we all came together as a region to say, hey, look, whatever you decide, we're all in and want to help.
Let's talk about infrastructure for a minute. Certainly the SEPTA system, and I think you are a SEPTA
I am a SEPTA board
member as well, so you have a pretty good idea of how the system works and how they work with all the different municipalities, because I think on your SEPTA board, there are appointees from not only Philadelphia, but each of the surrounding counties as well, and they all have different interests. So how do you look at SEPTA, for example, in terms of the kinds of decisions that they have to make about fares, routes, service, and the rest?
So each county has 2 appointments to SEPTA, including Philadelphia, and then the governor has 1 appointment, and then each caucus in the House and the Senate has an appointment as well for a 15-member board. Once again, you have to look at it as a regional entity. An example of that is King of Prussia Rail, which is a project that hopefully will come to fruition. The 3 largest employment centers in our region are Center City, University City, and Upper Marion.
King of Prussia.
King of Prussia.
Right.
Currently, the only way to get public transportation to King of Prussia are 4 SEPTA buses that are some of the worst performing because they have to go on the Schuylkill Expressway to get there. So King of Prussia Rail would connect the Norristown Transportation Center out to King of Prussia so that a lot of people come from the city to work in King of Prussia, in Upper Marion, and vice versa. So while that project would be completely within Montgomery County, it's really a regional project and helps.
Right.
So and that's the way the board works for SEPTA. You mentioned infrastructure. As I mentioned, we have 133 bridges in Montgomery County. And in 2012, 62 of those were structurally deficient in some way, meaning they were weight restricted or they were closed. That makes your commute to work longer, your children getting to school. It's a public safety issue if emergency vehicles can't go through. I'm really pleased that we've completed 32 projects. We have 20 more projects underway because that's really a bread and butter issue. You talk about something the county can do. Well, we want to make sure that you can get to work, that you can get to the store, that you can get to where you need to go.
Right. Washington and Harrisburg have not made it easy on county governments, local governments on the issue of infrastructure. The question is, as always, how are we going to pay for this? You talk about the King of Prussia. There's been talk about for years a rail line going out along the 422 right away. That hasn't happened. Again, the issue is who's going to pay for it? How much is it going to cost? So how much can you do on your own without the state or the federal government? Because if you raise gas taxes, obviously that becomes a significant political issue for some people. But how much can you do on your own without state and federal participation?
Well, we're doing as much as we can, and we want to do more. I think it's great that Montgomery County now, as you know, used to be divided among 5 congressional districts. Now we're two. With Congresswoman Dean representing most of it. So we're going to be looking to her as she gains seniority. We've had Senator Casey in. The state does need to do something with transportation. Act 89 was great, but there needs to be a next step there. So we continue to work with our partnerships there to make that happen.
You mentioned that Montgomery County used to be represented by 5, maybe or more, different members of Congress. After the redistricting, the judges in Harrisburg decided to cut Lower Marion in half, which didn't make a lot of people in my community very happy, because I'm in one congressional district, across the street from me is another. And so we have to deal with it. But it's not a problem because they don't have any local government jurisdiction. It just depends who your member of Congress is and where you vote.
Yeah, look, Montgomery County is too big for one congressional district. You hate to cut up townships. Lower Marion, as you know, is a very large township.
It's the largest in the state.
Yes. So we got a lot better, but at the end of the day, you know, we can't all be in one. And then Congresswoman Dean has a slice of Berks County too.
Yeah.
What they did there is they kept the Boyertown School District together because that actually goes over both counties.
I see. Well, getting back to diversity just for a quick minute, when I was doing some work in Montgomery County, I was amazed at what the far western part of the county looks like. It's very rural. As you said, Spring Mountain is essentially a mountain. It's not like the Poconos. But I tell people who live in the southeast part of the county, especially in Lower Merion, if you want to learn about Montgomery County, get in the car and go out there. I was out at the Audubon Bird Center just a few weeks ago. It just reopened. It's beautiful. They've got walking trails. There's some great exhibits there. I think people need to understand that the county is a great place to visit, not only and a great place to live as well. So we're very, very pleased. So I thank you for being here. My guest today has been Ken Lawrence, Vice Chairman of Montgomery County's Board of Commissioners. If you want to learn more about the county, you can visit its website at montcopa.org. Thank you and goodbye, and thank you, Ken, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.